Let's go to the young bloke here who knows something, Michael McLaren, for some intelligent insights. What do you make of all of that? How come this can't be resolved?
Well, it can be resolved. You said Peter Reith did it with John Howard and, of course, Peter Corrigan and all those others. They got it done, but they're missing now. We've got a different class. And as you said, if the leaders are getting their spines at Kmart, even they're waiting at the dock to come in, you know. So, I mean, the whole thing's a mess.
See, Susan has written to me. She said Morrison made a statement regarding his response to the Victorian Health Minister resigning, saying he can't comment on their government. He's going to focus on his job, which is working with everyone. And she says, does he need a job description? His job is to lead the nation. This includes Victoria. Past the buckism has really exploded. I mean, we need someone to say... Paddy Crumlin and these people in the MUA are laughing, aren't they?
Well, they've got the whip handle at the moment. And I mean, the broad narrative about Corona, isn't it, Alan, is that we need to be more self-reliant. Well, I mean, here's another example. If you're relying heavily on imports, I mean, exports is another thing that's affecting this situation at the port, but there's a lot of imports, drugs, for example, as you've said, not getting in. Now, I mean, here's another example, leaving Corona aside, why we have to be more self-reliant. We've got to have more things made on terra firma here rather than bring it in. And if the wharfies aren't going to play their part of the story, they only exacerbate that need to get that whole thing happening.
Well, here's another story. Now, this time last year I was talking to Stanthorpe, the Granite Belt. They were running out of water. The orchards were gone and all the rest of it. They've now had rain, they've had a good season, and they can't get workers. Now, you and I, for 3 weeks in a row here, have talked about this joint committee on migration, and apparently it's met. Julian Leese is the chairman and said, righto, that's a good idea. We'll actually give students a reduction on their HECS debt if they go out and work on these orchards and help the harvest and so on. Nothing has happened. Nothing has happened. It's all talk. They're still short of workers. Do you know what's going on?
No, well, tonight I'm going to speak to the National Farmers Federation about it because, I mean, they're making the point, for example, in Western Australia, that you've got the grain harvest coming, and it's not just the pickers. You know, you need people with these huge...
They've got 15,000 jobs there. 15,000 jobs.
Well, there's 1,000 jobs in the machinery side of things. You're not any old joke and just start on that that need to be filled. I mean,
these are $6 billion industries.
It's a crisis. And, you know, as you say, there's a lot of talk. There's been white papers and discussions and government panels and all the rest of it, but there hasn't been a decision. A lot of good ideas, but we need a couple of things circled and say, this is what we're going to do and this is how we're going to fund it.
Well, I've got a stone fruit grower in Stanthorpe, Angus Ferrier. He's got 18,000 trees in his orchard. He's got eight workers. Yeah. There are jobs there, permanent jobs, right up until Christmas, guaranteed work. It's the Granite Belt. And when that ends, of course, when that... to the Queensland government, they don't get too many raps. I've got to give them a rap. They've given a 1,500 bonus to go out, but no one's going out. JobKeeper and JobSeeker's too easy.
It's a big impediment. And look, but there was a story in the ABC the other day which also points to the problem here, Alan, and that is, you know, we've got a lot of people saying, and I understand this, but these jobs are 300 kilometres from where I live and I've got family. I get that. But there's people coming from Vanuatu, which is 2,900 kilometres from Darwin, a lot further than from here to there, to pick the mangoes. Yes. Now, they're getting more money to do it compared to what they get at home, granted. But it's a massive relocation, and they're doing it.
But, I mean, the government has to be fair to them, said, we won't reduce your unemployment benefit if you go out and work. Then you've got the table grape harvest in Victoria, which, pardon me,
that'll compete.
Which will follow the Granite Belt. And they still don't have workers. I mean, there's no solution to this. Where is government?
But the other thing's the borders, because this is just highlighted, itinerant work. And so you might get 6 weeks down doing grapes in Victoria, but that doesn't feed your family for a year, so you need to get a few weeks in New South Wales, a couple of months in Queensland, and this is how it's always worked. But with the state borders still closed, even in areas forgetting...
But why can't we guarantee agricultural workers the freedom of movement
this is it. They should
across borders?
Well, there's no COVID out there.
No, I know.
What are they worried about?
Well, I mean, it's government, isn't it? You've been talking about consultants a lot, haven't you? I mean, what?
I wish I was paid $1 for every time I...
Well, we've got 250,000 public servants in Canberra. Why do we need to spend $1.2 billion on consultants?
Well, someone's getting rich, and it's PwC, it's Deloitte, it's EY, it's all of them. Now, look, I mean, there's probably too many public servants, but why do we not trust them to do the job? I mean, Queensland, for example, they've done some good things, but Anastasia Palaszczuk recently gave, I think, $275,000
the way out of
one
COVID.
of them to come up with an economic footprint out of COVID. Isn't that what Treasury does? Then what do? If they can't come up with an economic footprint out of COVID, get rid of them. But I'm sure they can do it. But there's this propensity to pass the buck, to butt cover, give it to the consultant. If it goes wrong, blame them. It's terrible.
What I can't get an answer, I constantly said, put a piece of paper on the table that demonstrates to me why you are able to make these numbers. Now, 20 can go to a wedding. 20 can go to a wedding. The bride and groom will be allowed on the dance floor and 18 others as well. 20 allowed on the dance floor. Listen to this. Galdys Berejiklian says only the wedding party will be allowed to dance. Well, where does this come from? Only the wedding party will be allowed to dance.
Now, you've got to be fair. That's eminently sensible compared to the woodwind band.
Yes.
Where if you play, if you can have 1.5 metres, doesn't matter, you can have the whole show there. But if you dare blow the recorder or the flute, 3 metres.
3 apart, that's right.
Now, I've always been COVID safe from recorder players. I've been 300 metres from them.
That's right. That's right. But now singers can meet in choirs of up to 5 people.
Yes.
5 people, but music ensembles, no limits on the numbers.
Yeah. So the barbershop quartet's in, but the choir's out. As long as they're so far from each other, they can't hear each other.
That's right. Yeah. The flute, the players will have to be 1.5 metres apart, but the flute and recorder players have to be 3 metres. Hey?
Well, I mean, we laugh, but this is everywhere. Now, and it's the same with it's the curfew in Melbourne, thank God that's been lifted. But all of this, what evidence is it based on?
None.
And it's all now secret because of this national cabinet in confidence. We're not fighting an enemy with guns and helmets. We're fighting a virus. You can't hear what we say. This should be public.
Well, I think the politicians are getting very nervous now because they know that the alarmist talk that they went on with has been revealed for what it is, hysteria and alarmism. They now don't know what to do. I think the honest thing to do is say, listen, we've got it wrong, open up the economy, you know how to look after your own health, you look after yours, I'll look after mine, and we'll get on with life. And great to talk to you. You get on with your life, very successful. Good to talk to you. There he is, Michael McLaren, we love him. We'll be back after the break.